Hello, I'm Amanda Bell and today I'm speaking to Anna Campbell about her new historical romance. Your new book, My Reckless Surrender, is released from HarperCollins, Australia in June. Can you tell us about the story?
My Reckless Surrender is basically the story of a dangerous seduction in Regency, London. Diana Carrick, the heroine, gets a chance to fulfil every single dream she's ever had, but to do that she has to seduce Tarquin Vale, the Earl of Ashcroft, and tell him numerous lies and basically lead him up the garden path. And she thinks she's actually committing a victimless crime because she thinks, well, you know, he's not going to care. She's going to seduce him, he's going to have a nice time, and she'll go off and achieve everything she's ever wanted. And of course, there is no such thing as a victimless crime. So basically, the theme of the story is, oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive.
So what was the inspiration behind this story?
Very rainy afternoon in late spring in 2004, I toured Syon Park, which is a stately house outside London, and it's actually the London house of the Duke of Northumberland, and the family still owns it. And because it was basically empty and there was no one around, and I was very obviously interested, one of the family retainers ended up taking me around, and he took me all around the back areas and the things that tourists normally don't see. And it was very clear as we went along through this very fascinating tour that he had as much sense of ownership over this house as I'm sure the Duke had. And I thought, it must be very odd when you and your family have worked for a place like Syon Park for generation after generation, and yet you actually have no ownership. Now, Diana is actually the daughter of the bailiff of the villain of the book, who is the Marquis of Burnley. And she actually has the chance to marry the Marquis and take control of this house that basically she's devoted her life to. And so that's why she agrees to do this naughty thing of going up to London and sleeping with the very gorgeous Earl of Ashcroft.
Anna, I can see that you are clearly a great fan of English stately homes. Can you tell us about the houses on which Cranston Abbey is based?
Well, Cranston Abbey, therefore, because it's actually what the heroine wants more than anything in the world, became a major player in the book. It's almost a character. And one of the lovely things about the cover I've got in Australia is that the house features very prominently, and I thought that was wonderful. It's actually not based on Syon Park, having said that. I took bits and pieces out of it. One of the lovely things about writing historical romance is that you can steal inspiration left, right and centre, really. The interiors are based on Burghley House, which is in the Midlands in England, which is where the Marquis of Exeter lives. And it's amazing. It's you know, huge Baroque paintings and gold and gilt and things, and quite oppressive in a strange sort of way. The setting is set on Blenheim, which is where the Duke of Marlborough lives, which is Capability Brown landscape, and it's just this beautiful jewel of a park that the yet again quite an oppressive house is set in. I wasn't terribly keen on Blenheim. It's not one of my favourite stately homes. But I think we're probably talking about something like Chatswood, something like Blenheim. I wanted something Baroque, and it's not altogether a positive influence in the story. I mean, as I say, it gets Diana to definitely bend her principles. And it's a little bit of an obsession for her. It's certainly an obsession for the bad guy in the book, the Marquis of Burnley. So I wanted something that sort of had this feeling of this brooding evil with it, with the house. And I hope I actually achieved that with the book. So it basically plays the part Tara plays in Gone with the Wind, really. So.
Oh, that sounds very interesting. Sort of, she's a Regency gold digger.
I think it's a bit unfair to call her a gold digger because really it's something that she's devoted her life and heart's blood to, really. But she's middle class and she's definitely going to come up in the world if she takes over this house.
So is she a different heroine to others that you've written about?
I tend to do fairly strong heroines. She's very strong. And she definitely knows what she wants, but what actually happens in the book is that she discovers that the price of what she wants isn't actually worth it. And she also discovers when she falls in love with Ashcroft that the price she's had to pay to get what she thinks she wants. You know, she does a bit of a turn halfway through the story where she realises that really she's wrong to be doing what she's doing, but of course she's so far into deception then. She can't actually squeeze herself out of it without doing more damage, she thinks, than just continuing with how she's going on. So, yes, she is quite different. She's a woman of incredible intelligence, incredible talent, but because of the position in society she's born in, She's never really been able to exercise those to the full extent. She gets the opportunity, but of course to get this opportunity, she has to commit a sin, and she thinks that the sin's worth the opportunity, and of course it ends up it's not.
Well, you often specialise in creating tortured heroes. What about the hero in this book?
Well, you know, this guy is actually my first non-tortured hero, which I must say was enormous fun to write. Sadly, once Diana gets her claws into him, he does become tortured because she definitely gives him a hard time. He's a man who knows himself very well. He's a rake. He's basically had advantage of all the things that Regency society offers him. He's looking for something more in life, and of course, as he falls in love with Diana, that's actually what he gets. But of course, he's falling in love to a certain extent with a falsehood, so he's actually got a big fall coming ahead of him. So by the end of it, he's definitely been tortured quite enough, I think. But he's not, I mean, Gideon or Matthew from Untouched, they're men who life has basically done the wrong thing by. But you wouldn't say that about this Tarquin Vale. You'd actually say that he's a man who's basically in control of his world, and of course love comes along and he's all at sea when this happens.
So, Anna, why do you write historical romances rather than setting your novel in the present?
I've always loved reading historical romance. I think it goes back even to, you know, being a kid and watching Errol Flynn, you know, all the swashbuckling and the wonderful clothes and things like that. I love the fact that with a historical romance you can really go larger than life. These characters aren't the people that you'd meet, you know, living next door to you. Or I suppose you could.
If you lived in a grand old home.
Exactly. And there was a grand old home next door, yes. The stakes are high. I love the fairy tale quality. I love the fact that I can write about an aristocratic society. I mean, you can do that in fantasy, but you can actually write about a real aristocratic society when you write historical romance. I like the operatic quality of the emotion that you can get in historical romance. Yet again, that larger-than-life style thing. And going back to the fairy tale thing, I actually think that's part of the fascination for me. I think there's something about women in long dresses and men in those wonderful Regency coats and neckcloths and boots and breeches.
So obviously you're not the only person who likes historical romance, because it has a very enthusiastic following.
It's hugely popular. Even a couple of years ago, when according to the publishing industry historical romance was dead, I think it was still something like 70% of the market or something. It's absolutely huge. And I think, yet again, I think the readers love the fairy tale aspect of it. I think they love that entering another world and you know, living high stakes emotion with these sort of dramatic characters. And I think because you do have that remove of the fact that, you know, technology is different and the settings are different and the costumes are different and things, I think it actually adds this magic to the story that, I mean, I'm a huge fan of contemporary romance as well too, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a magic in a wonderful historical romance. I think it sweeps you away to another world, and I think readers absolutely love that.
Well, Anna, thank you very much for talking to me about My Reckless Surrender.
Thank you, Amanda.